Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Star in Focus podcast. I'm your host, Deanna Oakes, and we have with us today Matt Riley, who is the Executive Director of AAERT. Welcome, Matt. How are you doing?
Thanks, Deanna. It's nice to be here. I'm doing well.
Awesome. Yeah, it's warm and beautiful. We were just commenting about how if it's going to be a Monday, it might as well be a beautiful one, right?
Agreed, definitely.
So thank you so much for chatting with us. I really love doing these when I don't know you yet, because then we can kind of get to know each other together at the same time as our viewers are getting to know you a little bit. So I obviously know that you're the executive director of AAERT. And how did that happen? Are you a reporter? Did you stumble into this role? Tell me everything.
Yeah, I'd be happy to share. And that's kind of what the whole AAERT Star Partnership is about, is getting people who haven't had a chance to meet and get, kind of talk, understand each other. So it's a good opportunity. But one of the reasons I say that is because I've been around the court reporting industry for the better part of about 15 years now. I actually started in associations working for a bar association. And then after that, I worked for NCRA for about 6 years. That was when I really got to know court reporting really well. And then I was in other associations for a little while. I did international conferences. I was mainly working with like medical and scientific societies.
So when
But
you
when
say that you did like were you event planning or what was your role there?
I did a lot of event planning. So, function wise, I started really in continuing education, and then that kind of led into events and conferences.
Okay.
And then also that led into certification. So, like, for instance, when NCRA first started doing online certification exams, I was actually launching that for the first time. So that was an exciting project. And
Yeah.
now, at AAERT, we're using some of the same companies, same, systems and everything. So it's really kind of great to be back in the court reporting world and have some familiar faces and also some new faces.
Yeah, absolutely. The new faces are so inspiring because, we need new people. So it's always invigorating when we see new people that we can kind of include in our profession. It's very rewarding for sure. So AAERT obviously and STAR are doing the Unity Summit. And obviously, we want to bring people together. What are you most excited about for this upcoming event?
Like, that's just it, bringing people together, especially who haven't had a chance to come together before, or really kind of talk to each other, have a real conversation. There's so much that's going on in our industry, and I think it's so extremely important for us to be united, and for us to, whatever issues we have, whatever challenges we're facing, whatever our clients are thinking or saying or doing, we're going to be so much stronger if we can come together, talk about that, really discuss how we're going to handle things, what the future looks like, how we can, all build that future together, how we can all learn and grow and improve together. And it's just something that I think has really sorely been needed. So I'm so excited for this collaboration, because I think AAERT and STAR are organizations that have such a unique ability to bring together some of the such a cross section of court reporting, transcription, legal videography, firm owners, so many different people that have a stake in this.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly what we're doing. So, together, I feel like we are just the perfect partnership for sure. But I'm interested, so you had said that just talking about the clients and whatever, I wanted to know that when you were working with the bar,
Yeah.
did you have any feedback from attorneys about any of this kind of stuff? Can you reach back into the archives of when that was?
Well, it's funny, because that was before I even really knew the court reporting world. So I kind of went through the journey that I think a lot of our clients go through, of not really thinking about court reporting or where the transcript comes from or any of those things. And I think that's one place, just tough love and being honest, I think it's one place we've gone wrong, because we're so steeped in that, and how the transcript is made and the software that's used. I mean, I'm not saying it's not important. It's, it's the blood in our veins. And if the record isn't there, then it didn't happen in the legal system. So we have this appreciation for the importance of how that is done and making sure it's done right. And that's absolutely the right way to be. But I don't know that we always understand that from our client's perspective. It's all kind of opaque. And
Yeah.
as much as we might, we hopefully they appreciate us, but trying to bring them into those details of how it's made and why we use the tools that we use and the strengths and weaknesses of different approaches. Like that's really in our space. And I think we have to own that. We have to be the experts on that and not necessarily maybe pull them into that. You know, one comparison I've used before is if you took your car to a mechanic and the first question that the mechanic asked you was not about what the car was doing or why you brought it in or what was wrong, but was, you know, should I use the monkey wrench or should I use the adjustable wrench or should I use the
Right.
crescent wrench? You know, like you're
Yeah,
going to start to get the impression that, you know, that's why you brought it to the mechanic, right? Like you need
exactly.
them to answer those questions and you don't really want to be like you're not the expert on that, right?
Right. No, I could not agree more. And I really think that is a very good analogy, just spot on. And I think that it's almost quite honestly a breath of fresh air that, our clients are not really aware of this sort of, maybe animosity or, vitriol that sort of exists out there. And not sort of, that actually exists out there. I guess I just don't understand why.
Or
So
just
that's
not
why.
being able to have the right conversations. You know, if you don't know how someone else does what they do, how can you talk with a client about it? If you're getting asked questions about why aren't you using this or that, you know, like I just think we need to come across as fully informed about all parts of the industry if we're going to have that advisor, that guardian of the record, that expert reputation that is what really makes us indispensable to the client, you know. So that,
Yeah.
you know, to answer your question, that was my experience with the lawyers. Was nobody was really thinking about court reporting because I hadn't come to the court reporting world yet. I wasn't even asking those questions. And then when I have tried to ask those questions since, I get a little bit of a deer in the headlights because, yeah, you know, I mean, if you want to talk about speed, if you want to talk about accuracy, if you want to talk about cost or efficiency or any of those things, that they would love to have that conversation. But when getting into the nitty gritty of how it's all really done, it's kind of like you just leave them in the dust, you know?
Yeah. Well, honestly, my takeaway from the experiences I've had with attorneys is that they really don't care. They just
Yeah.
want an accurate transcript. You know
Yep.
what I mean? That's really all it is. And, if they can save a dollar, then, like the rest of us, we always want to save money. But I feel like that is just, yeah, a breath of fresh air, very refreshing. Just kind of giving us a little bit of hope, a little bit of leeway that, there's no dissemination except amongst ourselves, right? There's really no criticisms, in the real world,
It's kind of, I don't know if you know the expression distinction without a difference. I think that's the client view on a lot of the internal industry conversations that we have. And I'm not saying it's true. I'm not saying that that's right. You know, those of us who know that there are real differences, but I just kind of think it's like that's the reaction, you know?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So now that you're in the court reporting realm, what are your thoughts? How did you even segue into, do you want your children to be court reporters? Are you just managing, in that facility as a, director role, or what's your view now that you have this, education?
Well, one of the reasons I was so excited to come to AAERT was because I'm really passionate about this world, and it's so encouraging. You know, you said breath of fresh air, and I really appreciate that, and I hope I am. But that's how I feel about the organization, because I've seen different parts of this industry, and I've kind of lived with some of the the rules of we can have this conversation, but we can't have that conversation, or these people can be at the table, those other people can't be at the table, and it's just counterproductive, you know.
Yeah,
So that's what I would like to see. I'm not really on the path of having kids. If I did have kids, I'd love for them to go that way, but
sure.
what I would in terms of the impact that I would like to leave in the work that I'm doing, it would be to, again, just to facilitate those conversations. I mean, that's what associations do so well. That's why I've been running associations for pretty much my whole career, is because it's really incredible when you get people who have that passion in the same room together, and you create a space where there's trust and where there's, we can be real with each other, we can be transparent, and we can talk about the real tough things that we really need to talk about. That's where growth happens. That's where learning happens, so that if there's one thing that I could do, it would be to create a space for that and to really welcome people in and to have a group of people where that's the focus. Whatever it is, we're going to talk about it. We're going to come together. We're going to decide on a plan, and we're going to support each other And you know what? We might make mistakes, we might fail sometimes, but we're not going to drag each other down or be barriers to each other in trying to face the challenges that we have.
Right, right. And that's you had said about, going to these conferences, they're so invigorating. They are just full of ambition and energy and excitement. And even for people, I'm naturally an extrovert, but even for people that are introverted, I mean, they leave just glowing with all of this drive, and I think that that's really something that I would like to harness. And especially in today's world where we say everyone's welcome,
Yeah.
come on in. And I think that that's something that we really are doing quite well, if I do say so myself. But
Well, that was one of my biggest surprises coming to the court reporting world early on, because you have this image of a court reporter as somebody who's kind of there to do a job and not to interact and not to be like a personality. And then
right.
when we get together, oh my God, I mean, there's so much personality. It's like when we're around people who get us and what we do in our world, it's so invigorating. One of my favorite things at NCRA was in the, part of my job was the efforts to get more people into court reporting school. And when we realized that we really needed to prioritize that to deal with the shortage of court reporters, we started doing an event at the annual conference where if you were a student, you didn't have to be anything other than a student. If you were an enrolled student, there were already discounts, there was already whatever else to encourage you. If you made that commitment of coming to the conference, there was a reception in the presidential suite that was just the board members, the 30-year, the 40-year court reporters, and the
Yeah.
students who were attending for their first time. And the reaction that the students would have to that, and the emails we would get afterwards of like, I'm going to take my test again. I'm going to go back. I'm going to pass this dang thing because I know how frustrating and how hard that is. But just the motivation that they got from being around those big names in the industry. And, it's like people that I worked with on a regular basis. So it's kind of cute to see a student be like, that was so-and-so,
Yes, yes.
It
I
was
know
great. I
they're
mean,
they're
that's the
minor
power I'm
celebrity.
talking about. That's the like using the power that we have as experts in our industry to drive that passion and to bring us all together.
Yes, definitely. And I love that that was something that was done for students. We try to include students all the time,
Yeah.
ad nauseum, if you will. But I really love that idea. I don't know that we have that on our agenda at this event, and I'm thinking, how can we make this happen?
Well, we have a deeply discounted rate for students because we know that expense, just the travel and everything else is such a, is such
Yeah.
a barrier. So, we are basically taking a loss on, student attendance. So I hope they'll take us up on it. And this being the first year, hopefully we'll get that, and hopefully we'll be able to build up more student and early career sort of focused special pieces.
Yeah, definitely. It's intimidating as a student. There's a lot of, I feel like, barriers to attending these things. We
Yeah.
already are in such an isolated, profession as it is, and then to go with these people that you're intimidated with. So I do support 100% giving them all of the amenities and all of the, free passes that they can get, just to get them involved,
Yeah.
because so many people don't realize how exciting and just rejuvenating it can be, right? And then so
Right.
once they join, like I said, even the introverts, once they get involved, it's just a wonderful, wonderful time. I so you're
And Deanna, if I could give one more plug for anybody who
in
doesn't know, we've got 3 different room blocks for the Unity Summit. So
yes,
we've basically got a high, a mid, and a low. So,
yeah,
we know that there are people who go to have a good time and to spend time with people. Maybe they want a suite where they can entertain or whatever. So that's an option. But we know that there's people who are paying their own way or who are trying to justify to a company or, out of their
yeah.
own pocket. So, we have a range of options to try so that people can try to manage their expenses to what their needs are.
Yeah, and honestly, I feel like having options is the best place to be, right? No matter what it is in your life, you just want to have some options. So it's wonderful that we've been able to extend a little bit of variety and whatnot. And the luau is going to be amazing. I'm very excited for that.
I can't wait.
Right. So you're in New York.
Yep.
Are you planning on taking up any of the surrounding activities, Disney World, anything like that?
We'll have to see. I haven't locked all that down. Sometimes the lead up to the event is super, super busy. So it's like you can't
Sure.
really do anything before, but I'm
Sure.
holding space for after the event.
I
If I'm
love that.
not completely exhausted, then actually I think my wife's gonna come with me, so that'll be great. And then
Perfect.
yeah,
Yeah.
I know they're extending the rate at least a few days after, so we haven't
Yeah.
locked that in yet, but we're sort of holding the possibility of going and doing the parks or you know,
Yeah.
just spending some time in the Florida sunshine.
Right, right. And I mean, that's what we're looking for, right? Is to do something somewhere where people can sort of roll their vacation
Yeah.
into, maybe a company paid, trip or whatever, which I think is great. So your wife is coming.
Yeah.
What's her role? I mean, obviously she's your wife and amazing, by default, but is she in the legal realm? How do you guys connect in your professional lives?
So, funny enough, you should ask. She actually worked at the Bar Association. That was how I wound up working at the Bar Association. So
Okay.
she's always been in marketing and communication. And I think she did like the newsletter or something. So she was the little intern basically who would go around knocking on everybody's doors and saying, do you have anything for the email newsletter or whatever it was? So it was the first job where I had started where everybody already knew her and she's super likable. She's in marketing and PR and she just like making people her friends is her specialty. So I started at this job at the Bar Association. Everybody was like, "Oh, you're Jackie's husband. You're Jackie's husband." So that was my original legacy there. But she's since moved on to hospitality. She does marketing for hotels and that sort of thing. And so when I was doing a lot of international work, she has a lot of international hotel work, and that's mainly what she's up to these days.
That's very cool. International work. So do you guys travel a lot?
She travels a lot. When I was doing the conferences, I kind of did a lot of that, but it's nice to settle down a little bit. We love to travel though, just in our free time, whenever there's an opportunity.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So because you are the executive director of AAERT, you probably don't travel a lot, right? Do you just travel once a year, twice a year now?
Yeah, something like that. It just kind of depends what's going on, but we are a North America based organization, so yeah, we don't have a lot of sort of international tendrils or anything like that. So yeah,
Right.
most of my travel is personal.
Ways for fun, right? Yeah, that's
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is great. I think that's wonderful. And I mean, the virtual world has given us the ability to do so many things that we wouldn't be able to do. I mean, I have nothing bad to say about it for sure. I think that's wonderful
Yeah.
that we can meet, and not actually have to take the time to fly and go through security and all of the things that maybe could be a hindrance, but
But I mean, we know that court reporting, there's active court reporting associations and communities all over the world. So as we're talking about bringing more people into the conversation, that's something that, aligns with my previous path and all of that. So, I'd love if there was an opportunity down the road somewhere to, not just have this be necessarily a North America conversation. I'm sure there's things we could learn and vice versa from Intersteno in Europe, for instance, or some of
yeah.
the other regions.
I love that. Thinking outside the box, right? And you actually just sparked a question in my mind. Do you know how are other so in Europe, how are they addressing this? Uh multi my words are failing me, but
Sort of
different.
like sort of like method, multiple
Yeah,
methods of
yeah,
making the
yeah.
record. Yeah. I mean, from what I've been told, and again, when I did a lot of work in Europe, but again, it was kind of in my interregnum where I wasn't as focused on court reporting. But I have friends in Europe in court reporting firms and some of these things. And my understanding is there's not a really strong focus on method. It's more about the end product. It's more about certification. It's more about sort of the clients meeting the
Yeah,
client's needs.
yeah.
So in
What
some
happened?
ways they're having the conversation that I've been talking about where it's not sort of hyper focused on that and it's more focused around business priorities and bringing everybody to the table, decision making together, really
Yeah.
trying to read what the future looks like, which to me is going to serve us, them, everybody really well. So that's one reason that I say that of I think there's room in this conversation even beyond what we've maybe just initially considered.
For sure, yeah. And I can't even believe that. I mean, I don't have social media, and so I'm sort of removed from all of the conversations that happen. But even still, I never thought of it on my own. That what are other countries doing and how are they handling it? And I think that's such a brilliant concept that they're sort of a gateway to, growth and also inclusivity. I mean, that's just wonderful.
I mean, it's kind of underpinning what we're trying to do with the Unity Summit. If we approach things with curiosity, there's so much that we can learn. I'm just such a big believer in let's show a little trust, let's show some curiosity and
Yes,
kind of gather the information. The quicker that you go to judgment or like it limits your ability to do that. People stop sharing, they get defensive.
yes,
So, again, it just goes back to what I think we need as an industry, which is that curiosity. And it's a bit of a science experiment, right? If we're learning things we don't already know, we're going to learn more with that aspect of Okay, teach me, show me, like what,
Yeah.
like, you tell me rather than me tell you what I think of what you're of what you're sharing.
Yeah. No, exactly. It's curiosity over scrutiny, right? And I think that I could not agree more. That is, curiosity is absolutely, it's just a kind way, right, to approach things, which is absolutely what we are about. And I try to tell people too when I, talk to them about our conferences that you're never going to run into a situation where there's any sort of animosity. This is, I usually say the words kumbaya because that's just how I
Mhm.
feel about it, and that's
Yeah,
what I love about stars. It's just very, very inviting, and AAERT as well. I've been to one
it feels
conference.
the same way to me. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's been really, really nice.
So is there anything, any one session that you're most excited about, or any one thing that you're looking forward to at Unity Summit?
I mean, well, I have a session with George where we're going to talk a little bit more about some of the, the functional side of the industry. So I'm really excited to have that conversation. It's been a
Okay.
great collaboration, just getting to work the two staff teams together and everything has been so wonderful. So I'm excited to see that kind of shown off a little bit, showcased for the attendees. But honestly, there's none of it that I'm not looking forward to. I like from a social aspect, I guess I'll talk a little bit differently about that because I've been all business focused. I really hope that people have fun. I think us being together as humans, I think the luau and maybe there's some limbo going on, or maybe you bump into somebody at the bar. Like I'm really that's another thing beyond just what's on the stage is I'm just looking forward to those human moments because I think we forget that sometimes. I think especially if you're given information that somebody's out to get you, or that you have to be on guard. Like I said, all the defensiveness, all of that, it really kind of is harmful. And if we can just see each other as people, and we're all trying to make our way, we're all trying to figure out some really complicated things sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to those human moments of just having fun together and just being people. And then I
Yeah.
think when we come back to the business conversations, hopefully it's a little bit easier when we keep that in mind of like, this is the person that you had a Mai Tai with, like.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Very well said for sure. And I think too, the social aspect, because I think so much of what people are, these negative conversations come from fear. And I think that
Right.
when, you get to know people, then it truly just washes that away, right? You have a genuine sort of, again, that reinvigoration and that solid belief in this noble profession, and just focus on what matters, and then building those bonds really sort of alleviates that fear, or at least it has for me, because there was a point in time when I was a student, and I heard some very scary things, and lo and behold, I didn't buy into that. But
Right.
these connections with these people have just been so rewarding and so educational that you can't deny it, right? Like there's no way you could not get something from
Yeah.
it.
And I think when you bring together a diverse group, no one is saying we're going to agree on everything 100% of the time. But I think that's the key is when we can disagree,
Yeah.
or even maybe our interests are at odds. Maybe the best thing for me is not the best thing for you. But as long as we can be in that situation and not have the fear and not have the, well, then you're just worthless to me. So I'm not going to engage with you at all, or I'm not going to do anything with it. Like we might have opposite interests or we might disagree, but there's still some common ground there. We can at least agree to be professionals. We can think about how we're both showing up to our clients and our end users. And yeah, I think there's still value in that, even if we can't build the future together in this kind of grandiose way that I've been talking about.
Right, right. In
That would
our
be my second
truly,
choice is, can we just coexist? Can we
yeah.
be professionals together in a space? And again, still communicate, still, still kind of keep each other informed. Like friendly competition is a thing too, guys,
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, totally. I don't love competition, but a lot of people thrive on it. And
And I'm
so
the same way. I'm very conflict averse. I mean, this is like I've been singing the Kumbaya right along with you. But we have companies, we have big firms in our space that are very much in competition with each other. Every job that firm A gets is a job that firm B doesn't get. But I think they've also seen the harm that is done if you go scorched earth and you say firm B is unethical and firm B is cheating, and like firm B wants to kill your mother. Like we can't be that industry, right? Like that just looks bad. Everybody looks bad at that point. So firm
yeah,
A and firm B have found ways that they still keep in touch, they still talk to each other.
yes,
Maybe somebody leaves firm A for firm B sometimes, and that's not a great feeling, but like the values of of being professionals together and finding a way to sort of coexist are greater than the value of I'm gonna stab you every time.
Yes, agreed. And I think as well, there are so many times where a firm will have to rely on another firm because they can't fill their calendar or they can't, you
Yeah,
know what I mean? So it's like the
yeah,
corroboration is imperative to
yeah.
success. What are you going to gain by squabbling? Nothing.
Right. Nobody's an island, no one group, no, yeah, yeah. I mean, that again, that's why build your bridges before you need them, right? Because you're going to need that support sooner or later. And like I said, just knowing each other, just understanding each other makes us better.
Yes.
When our clients are asking, hey, what about this other thing that's happening over here? Being the person that says, oh, I know all about that. Let me tell you, let me tell you what I've learned is always going to be a better look than being the person saying, oh no, those people are bad. You don't want to look at them. Just pretend they're not there.
Right. Right. Just put your blinders on. No, I think
Right?
that's very well
That
said.
doesn't feel like a confident, advisor kind of answer,
Agree.
right?
Yes, no, 100%. And I used to work in hospitality in the restaurant industry, and I always approach things with you can't say no, right? You always have to be so like, do you have, blue cheese stuffed olives is always the example I use. And say, well, I have pimento stuffed olives, because even when you're saying something that's just a fact, I don't have those. You know what I mean? It's still saying no. It's still a negative thing, and people don't want that. Like,
Right.
regardless, they don't want that. I mean, unless I guess some people want to be mad, and so maybe they're finding solidarity and anger, but that's not what we're here for. We want to.
Well, I mean, I think that's one of the things they teach you in sales or persuasive communication is queue up some questions that are yes questions. So ask, oh, I understand you're in the court reporting industry. Is that right? Yes. Oh, and that maybe you're looking to make your transcript production more efficient. Is that right? Yes. And then when you get to the point of asking for the sale or asking for the time of like, let me show you my software or whatever that is,
Yeah.
the human brain, when you've been on that yes path, is more likely to continue to give the yes answer versus somebody who's been negative in the entire conversation and wants to tell you all this terrible stuff and you should be on guard and you should be looking out. That person's not in a receptive mood to learn anything from you or to there's going to be a point where your opinion kind of becomes toxic to them, right? If
Yeah.
all you ever do is scare them and worry them and warn them, there's only so much of that people really want to lean into, right?
Yeah, I mean, that makes perfect sense. I am not in the marketing field, so this is all new to me. I'm sure there are people out there that are familiar with that, but I have not heard that before. But it just, yeah, that totally adds up, and I can get on board with that for sure. And so, in the vein of, saying yes, we are hoping that our members are going to say yes and join us on May 1st at this very first Unity Summit. I could talk to you for a very long time, but being that we're at a half an hour, I promised I wouldn't take too much of your time. Is there anything that you have to say to any of the new professionals or students, or maybe even young ones? You might not have kids, but your nieces or nephews, anything, that you think is the most paramount thing that you could share about this industry and where we're going?
Yeah, I think the future is the limit for this industry. I think anybody who comes to the Unity Summit, who becomes part of this collaboration and everything that you and I just talked about, Deanna, um, to me, it feels like something I want to get involved in, and I'm already deeply involved. So I hope that's I would encourage people, scope it out. And if maybe you've seen other parts of our industry, maybe you've seen other organizations, I really, really would encourage whether you're a newcomer or not. Maybe you're somebody who's burned out. Maybe you're somebody who has been turned off by some of the negativity and the rules and the orthodoxy. I would
Yeah.
encourage anybody who is a newcomer or who is open to becoming a newcomer again. Maybe try just a little bit of a different flavor. Try this atmosphere that's really focused on bringing people together, on having a new conversation, and see if it doesn't work for you. I mean, I think our strength is going to be on all people coming to the table. So there's nobody that this isn't for. There's nobody that's not welcome.
Right.
So anybody who's willing to approach it with that curiosity that we talked about, that's willing to have conversations with a wide variety of different people that all, at the end of the day, want the same thing. They
Right.
want court reporters to be the best they can, and transcribers and legal videographers, everybody in our world to be qualified, to be certified, and to be providing world-class service to our end users. just consider bringing your voice to the table because we really need it. And I think you might be surprised by how good that feels to have a space to do that.
I love that so much. I mean, it's just, yeah, it's rooted in strength, and that's what is, I mean, conquers
Like I said,
all.
I'm in that space and I still want more of it. So like that I feel like is a good sign. Maybe
Yeah,
that's just me, but I really think I would really challenge anybody who is on the fence to come check it out.
definitely. I couldn't agree more. You heard it here, everybody. So most certainly. Well, it's been great to chat with you, Matt. I'm very much looking forward to meeting you in person in Florida. It's going to be such a good time.
Same
I'm
here.
grateful, of course. Thank you for taking the time to chat with us and to give us your thoughts. And yeah, with that, I will let you continue on your day. I know you're pretty busy as we're getting closer to our date here. So thank you so much. And thank you guys for joining us. We will see you next time.
Thanks, Deanna. Thanks, everybody.